Have you ever felt a sadness that didn't quite belong to you, like carrying a weight in your chest that no one put there, but somehow it's always been with you? If you've ever looked around at your life and wondered, why does this feel so heavy, even when everything looks fine? Then this video might be the mirror you've been needing, because what you're feeling might not be personal. It might be ancestral, and understanding that could change everything. In this video, we'll explore 6 signs that you didn't come here just to live another day, but to end something ancient, to become the one your lineage has been waiting for. And the most powerful truth, the very discomfort you've been hiding, might be the first sign that your soul remembers its mission. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I once met. She had a beautiful life on the outside, a family, a job, a future. But inside, she always felt like she was living someone else's story. Every time she smiled at dinner, something in her chest tightened. One day, she told me, "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I know I'm not meant to pass this pain on." And that was the moment her healing began. So if you've ever felt like her, if your soul whispers, "This ends with me," then this is your space. This is your time. Comment, "I feel it too," if this already resonates with something deep in you. And stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may finally understand why you've always felt different. There are moments when you hear a story, a loss, a heartbreak, and without warning, tears rise in your eyes. Your chest tightens, not because you lived it, but because some part of you remembers it. This is not imagination, it's inheritance. Carl Jung spoke of the ancestral unconscious, a reservoir of memories, emotions, and unresolved grief passed down through generations, encoded not just in our DNA, but in the subtle language of our dreams, our triggers, our longings. You feel it when someone speaks of war, exile, silence, or shame, and your body reacts as if it were there, because perhaps in a way it was. The grief you feel is not always yours to explain, but it is yours to feel. And in feeling it, you begin to break a pattern that has gone unspoken for too long. You did not choose to carry it, but your soul, in its infinite wisdom, said yes. This is the sacred role of the cycle breaker, the one who feels, the one who cries when others stay numb, the one who speaks the names that were buried, the one who brings light to where only shadow lived. You are not weak for being moved. You are awake, attuned. Your openness is not fragility. It is power wrapped in tenderness. There is a reason lullabies make your heart ache, a reason old photographs make your chest swell, a reason you've always felt a little haunted by beauty and sorrow. You are the living echo of those who came before you, and every time you let a tear fall, every time you sit in silence and let it rise, every time you choose to feel instead of flee, you're not just healing your pain, you're healing theirs, because the body remembers, the lineage remembers, and now, through you, it breathes again. So if you've ever felt a grief without a story, a sadness without a source, just know this: you are not overreacting. You are remembering, and remembrance is where healing begins. If this resonates, comment, "I remember." Let it be your first word in a new story. There's a quiet moment in every healer's journey when they realize the pain they carry wasn't theirs to begin with, but somehow it chose them. You didn't ask for it. You didn't go looking for it, but it found you. Anyway, not to punish you, but because you could bear it. This pain didn't start with you, but it continues through you, until you say, enough. You wake up one day and realize the anxiety you feel isn't yours alone. The fear, the self-doubt, the relentless pressure to be okay. It echoes through your bloodline, your mother's silence, your father's absence, your grandmother's survival. They live in you, not as memories, but as instincts. It's why you people please, why you stay quiet, why you feel like love has to be earned. But what if this pain didn't come to destroy you? What if it came to be seen by you? Carl Jung taught that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. You are here because your soul was strong enough, awake enough, to make a different choice. You are the disruption, not the chaos, but the clarity, the one who said, "I will not pass this down." This is sacred work, not glamorous, not loud, but real. It happens in the still moments, when you pause before repeating the same reaction, when you say no, even when it would be easier to say yes, when you walk away from what looks like love, but feels like sacrifice. This pain didn't choose you to break you. It chose you because you could hold it without becoming it. You are the vessel of transformation, and though it's heavy, it's also holy. So if you've ever felt like the one who carries too much, ask yourself, what if that weight was the beginning of your strength? If this is your truth, write in the comments, "It chose me, and I choose to end it." You sit at the table, the same table you've sat at since childhood. The stories are familiar, the smiles predictable, but something inside you recoils. You're not angry, you're not judging, but what once felt like home now feels like a script. Laughter echoes in the room, but your soul is silent because you can no longer pretend. What they call love feels like obligation. What they call tradition feels like suppression. What they call strength feels like numbness dressed in pride. And you wonder, is it me? Am I too sensitive? Why does this feel so wrong when everyone else seems fine? But that discomfort, that ache in your chest, it's not a flaw. It's your clarity waking up. Carl Jung spoke of the family unconscious, a tangle of unresolved emotions, expectations, and roles that pass silently through generations. You are the one who sees it now. You see the unspoken grief behind the jokes, the silent resentment beneath the praise, the invisible contracts of don't speak, don't feel, don't change. And though you've tried to fit in, to smile, to play the role, you feel it every time you betray your own knowing. That this isn't love, it's legacy in disguise. You didn't come here to fit the mold. You came here to melt it down and pour something truer. And yes, it's lonely. To be the one who stops laughing when the joke hurts, who doesn't join the dance of dysfunction, who chooses silence over fake harmony. But you are not broken. You are the beginning of a new chapter. You don't need to burn the past to rewrite it. You just need to stop pretending it fits, because your presence, your awareness, your discomfort is already doing the work. You are not here to judge them. You are here to free them by freeing yourself. If this moment stirred something real in you, if your heart ever whispered, "This doesn't feel like love," comment, "I see through it." And remember, not everything you inherit is yours to keep. You've likely never been called a hero. No applause followed your hardest decisions. No ceremony marked the day you broke the pattern. But still, you did. You said no, when yes was expected. You walked away, when staying was tradition. You felt, when generations before you went numb. And that is heroism. Not the kind sung in songs, but the kind that shifts the ground beneath entire family trees. You see, Families don't change because one person speaks louder. They change because one soul chooses presence over performance. You didn't plan this role. You didn't raise your hand. But life, or fate, or something ancient in your bones, chose you to carry what others could not, to see what others ignored, to stop the bleeding where it always bled. And though you feel the weight, though you wonder if anyone sees you, know this: your courage is felt, even in silence, because you are the hinge between what was and what will be. You are the prayer your ancestors never learned to say, the boundary your mother couldn't draw, the voice your grandfather silenced in his own throat. You are the first to turn toward the pain instead of away, the first to weep, not in weakness, but in reverence. Carl Jung believed that transformation is passed not through force, but through presence. And that's what you offer now. Not blame, but light. You carry them, not as burdens, but as stories being rewritten. Not everyone will understand your path. And that's okay. Your soul didn't come for validation. It came for liberation. So if you've ever felt like the only one trying, the only one crying, the only one aware, let this be your reminder. You're not alone. You're the beginning. And beginnings are always quiet. If this resonates, write. I carry it with love, because you do. And that is how cycles end. One day, without warning, you feel it. An urge, not just to clean your room, but to clear your life. You look around, and everything feels heavy, not in size, but in energy. The clothes, the gifts, the conversations you've kept out of habit, suddenly feel like relics of a life that no longer fits. This is not about clutter. It's about clarity. Your soul is asking for space, not just physical space, but emotional space, spiritual space, breathing room for a self that's still unfolding. You start questioning the relationships that drain you, the rituals that numb you, the roles you've played so long you forgot you were acting. And you begin letting go. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Carl Jung taught that what we refuse to face emerges in our reality. And now your reality is reflecting what's ready to be released. You toss out an old item and feel your chest loosen. You decline a call and feel your energy return. You say no and feel your power gather quietly in your spine. This is soul work. It's subtle, invisible to many, but it shifts everything. You stop explaining, stop justifying. You simply choose, with more presence and less guilt, because you've realized something essential. Peace is worth more than performance, and your authenticity is not up for negotiation. So you clear space, not to run away, but to return home, to yourself. This is not abandonment. It's integration. It's standing before the inherited chaos and saying, I see you, but I no longer need to carry you. The spaces you clear may feel empty at first, but soon they'll fill with light, with breath, with truth, with who you are becoming. So if you've felt the urge to delete, to declutter, to disappear for a while, it's not a phase. It's a phase shift. If this speaks to you, comment, I'm making space. Because in that space, your real life begins. You've heard it your whole life. You're too sensitive. Don't take it so personally. You're overreacting. But what if you weren't? What if your sensitivity wasn't a weakness, but a radar, a gift, a sign you were tuned into something deeper, something real, something others have learned to ignore? You feel more, not because you're fragile, but because your soul refuses to go numb. You cry when others joke. You pause when others rush. You ache when others shut down. That's not drama. That's depth. Carl Jung once said, "Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life." And you are a living paradox. Strong, yet soft. Aware, yet overwhelmed. Quiet, yet screaming on the inside. But here's the truth. You were never too sensitive. You were too awake for a world that numbs itself to survive. You notice what others bury. You care when it's easier not to. You open when closing would be safer. And yes, it hurts. Because feeling deeply means you bleed where others bruise. But it also means you heal where others hide. Your sensitivity is your compass. It tells you what's off, what's sacred, what's true. You are not broken. You are porous. And through you, ancient wounds find water and begin to soften. You don't need to toughen up. You need to trust your tenderness. Because in a world built on walls, softness is a revolution. So the next time someone tells you, "You're too sensitive," just smile. And know that your heart is not the problem. It's the answer. If this speaks to your soul, write, "My sensitivity is sacred." Because it is, and one day, the world will see that too. There comes a moment when you can't do it anymore. Not because you're weak, but because your soul has outgrown the cage. You sit with the same people, hear the same excuses, and something inside you rises, not in anger, but in clarity. No more. No more pretending that pain is love. No more calling survival strength. No more sacrificing truth for comfort. You don't scream. You don't shatter plates. You simply stop repeating. And in that quiet refusal, 1,000 years of silence begins to break. This is what Carl Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You're not just changing habits, you're rewriting fate. Because every time you say, "No, this ends with me," you're choosing presence over programming. You're choosing to pause where others react, to speak where others stay silent, to walk away where others stayed and bled. And that is not betrayal. That is evolution. You don't need anyone's permission to stop the story. You just need your truth. And when you say it, the ripple moves backward through your lineage and forward into your legacy. You become the fork in the road, the sacred interruption. The moment when "this is how it's always been" meets "but it won't be anymore." So if your body has whispered no, even while your mouth said yes, if your spirit has grown tired of cycles you never agreed to live out, then this is your sign. You don't need to know what's next. You just need to say the words that start it. No more. Comment it below if you're ready. If your soul has whispered it too. Because those two words carry lifetimes of healing. After all the pain, after the betrayals, the cold silences, the love that came with terms and conditions, you had every reason to close, to shut down, to guard your tenderness like a wounded animal. But you didn't. You stayed soft, even when it hurt. You chose to keep the door open, even when the world told you to lock it shut. And that is sacred. Carl Jung taught that true transformation doesn't come from defense. It comes from devotion, to remain available, after all the reasons not to be. Isn't weakness, it's mastery. Because closing would have been easy. You knew how to shut down, how to fake indifference, how to smile through the numbness. But instead, you chose to feel, to weep without shame, to love without armor, to speak without venom. You didn't open your heart to earn belonging. You opened it because it's who you are. And now, your presence itself becomes the medicine, not by fixing others, but by reminding them it's safe to feel again. Your tenderness is a lighthouse. It says, I walked through fire, and I'm still here, and I still love. That's not naivety. That's courage on a soul level. And yes, it's exhausting, but it's also exhilarating. Because when you live this way, from the wellspring of your truth, you no longer need applause, or validation, or understanding. Your open heart becomes its own reward. So if you've stayed soft in a hardened world, if you've whispered, I forgive, when it would have been easier to forget, know this: you are not alone. You are the proof that love can survive anything. Comment, I'm still open, because that is the quietest revolution of all. Take a breath, right now, in this moment. You stand between what was and what will be, not because you asked for it, but because something sacred in you said yes. Yes to the wait. Yes to the healing. Yes to becoming the one who ends what should have ended long ago. You are the turning point. The axis where the past stops repeating. The pause where pain finally meets presence. You are the breath your ancestors held in, and the exhale your descendants will thank you for. Carl Jung believed the soul awakens, not in rebellion, but in authenticity. And your authenticity has become a light through the fog of inheritance. You didn't come here to fight your family. You came to free them, not by force, but by living your truth so clearly. It shatters the silence. You are not here to fix everyone. You are here to become someone new, to show what it looks like. When someone chooses differently, when someone says, I see the pain, but I will not pass it on, and that someone is you. You are the whisper that becomes a wave, the choice that becomes a new pattern, the healing that becomes a legacy, your tears, your clarity, your courage to feel what others buried. It matters, even when no one sees it, especially then, because this is soul work. It doesn't ask for recognition, it asks for truth, and you've chosen it. So stand tall in your tenderness, walk proud in your softness, and know this: you are the hinge, the breath between generations, the moment where the story turns. Comment, it ends with me. Not in blame, but in love. Because love is how the real story begins.